How's it going, Jets fans? My name is Alex, my co-host here, Ryan Moran. And today we want to look at Larry Ogunjobi, free agent, guy who's visited the Jets, had a couple of instances where he was, communicating with them potentially on a contract. We want to discuss what he brings to this team, what he offers, what his value is, how he performed in 2021 with Cincinnati, and if there is a spot for him on this Jets defensive line. Now, we do have a couple players that Ryan wants to discuss, guys like Sheldon Rankin, some depth pieces. Where does a guy like Larry Ogunjobi fit? How much would he cost? All the stuff that will go into signing a free agent like we did with Riley Reef a couple days ago and his visit. Obviously, nothing came to fruition there. But, they might just want to be waiting a little bit, seeing how the offensive tackle position unfolds during training camp, seeing how the defensive line unfolds. Maybe they want to, cut somebody. Like we'll talk about Rankins, how much he's earning and stuff like that. So definitely excited to dive into Larry Ogunjobi. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to say hi in the comments. We always love to have some good conversation and building this community. So really appreciate that as well. But Ryan, before we dive into Larry, how you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, Alex. There's definitely been some buzz with some of these free agents for the Jets, whether it be Larry Ogunjobi, Riley Reef, who you discussed there, and Quan Alexander, someone we've talked about in the past. So, the Jets obviously still have some needs on the roster, as exciting as the offseason was. And, the run defense in particular, defensively, is something that the Jets have definitely got to be better with, this year. Last year it was a major concern. And, it still is a little bit. They were obviously able to address a whole lot this offseason, and they're much better. And, I think we're all feeling more optimistic. It's just that, run defense concern. And we'll get into whether or not we think Ogunjobi really fits in here.
Right. Ogunjobi, if you're not familiar with him, I believe he's been in the NFL for 5 seasons now. Started with Cleveland for 4 years, went to Cincinnati in 2021, where he played 752 total snaps. Of course, we'll kind of throw some clips into here so you can have an idea of what he's capable of offering. During Cleveland, his rookie season, he was actually a very, very, very good run defender. Had his best grade of his career as a run defender. Definitely had a little bit of issues when it came to pass rush, but still collected a sack over just 300 snaps. But since then, he's consistently gotten worse and worse and worse as a run defender. 2018, probably one of his best seasons, graded, 7 sacks, 21 hurries, and 8 quarterback hits. But last season with Cincinnati, things kind of fell off for him. He's 28 years old right now. He played in 752 snaps, had 8 sacks. So definitely as a pass rusher, he has tremendous value, but he missed 22.4% of his tackles. He had a 34.7 run defense grade, according to PFF. So that's probably a little bit of an issue. Now, he has had some penalty problems in the past. In 2019, it's 7 penalties against him, 5 penalties against him in 2020, and then just 1 last year. So we did get a little bit better in that category, but the missed tackles really stood out. He missed 13 tackles last season. Pretty inconsistent across the board. The latter portion of the year, he was abysmal. In the wild card, oh my goodness, he barely played. They pulled him because he was doing so poorly. At that, that defensive tackle position. So, if he is going to be playing defensive tackle, you've got to be a good run defender. Robert Saleh isn't going to stand for a player that can't hold his own in run defense, in my opinion. But Ryan, when you're looking at Larry Ogunjobi, what is your impression of him? And, what do you think he'd be a fit on this team? Because, from first glance, if he can't play run defense, I think probably not.
Yeah, I think you just said it best there with this run defense. A little bit of a background. He was an early 3rd-round pick in 2017, so he was, a respected prospect. And obviously he's had 5 successful, years in the league to this point. Last year was his best year in terms of on the stat sheet, getting after the quarterback. He had 7 sacks, 16 quarterback hits. He finished with 12 tackles for loss, all of which were career highs. And I think that's why you saw him get that massive 3-year contract there with the Bears and start free agency in March. And obviously it's pretty well known that he failed his physical and, things kind of dropped from there. But, I think when you look at the structure of the Jets defensive front right now, there's a ton of pass rushers. We've talked about it in past episodes on the edge. And then obviously on the interior where Ogunjobi would fit in, you have Quentin Williams, obviously, is one of your starters. We talked yesterday about Nathan Shepard and some of the recent buzz he's gotten, kind of taking that Foley Fatukasi role of playing the run on 1st and 2nd down inside. On 3rd downs, if they're planning to kick John Franklin-Myers back inside, which they should on 3rd downs. I just struggle to see when you look at the depth already with Sheldon Rankin, Solomon Thomas, guys who are predominantly better pass rushers, similar to what the Jets have on the edge with their depth. If Ogunjobi can play the run better, I certainly love the talent, love the accolades throughout his career. I just, I feel like they need a true run stuffer, on the inside of the D line. And, I don't necessarily know that this is a fit here.
Yeah, I agree. And, you always like the pass rush, but I feel pretty confident in the edge setters this year with, Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson, and Bryce Huff. These are all guys that I feel can hold it down. You can generate a lot of pressure off the edge. Robert Saleh is an aggressive defensive caller, so you're going to see blitzes from the slot corner position. We have seen a Michael Carter II had a couple sacks last year blitzing off from that nickel spot. And then you have the linebackers, CJ Mosley, he's capable of doing it. You got some aggressive guys there. And then at safety, Jordan Whitehead, we've seen him, blitz in the past, but, it's going to be interesting to see, how they get this defense involved entirely in that aggressive mentality blitzing set. But when it comes to Larry Ogunjobi, the primary task of a defensive tackle is to stop the run. And if you can't do that, you're pretty much useless. Sure, decent run, decent pass rusher, but at the end of the day, like what is that actually going to do for you? I'm not entirely sure in terms of that. But Sheldon Rankins, there's an argument to be made that maybe he would replace Sheldon Rankins based on the fact that both of them are terrible run defenders. But Ogunjobi's a better pass rusher. So like there is an argument to be made that he could replace Sheldon Rankins, but I do want, I'm going to look up his Sheldon Rankins' cap charge, right now. But like, I think, what is your opinion on this? Do you think that if it was monetarily like feasible, do you think that there's a world where they cut Rankins and, maybe go after, Ogunjobi here?
It's fascinating. I felt like going into the offseason, there was a chance that the Jets could move on from Sheldon Rankins when you just looked at the relatively easy out that was in his contract, low prorated bonus. And, there was a ton of no guarantees in the contract, which led to more, that they could have freed up, obviously, and, maybe added a true run stuffer on the inside. Ultimately, the Jets kept Rankins, and I think a lot of it has to do with just intangibly what he provides. He's a great leader. He's won games in the league, and I think that is something that this young team needs. And at this point in time, I don't see, Rankins being released. I know, the websites may say that like there's an easy out in the contract, but I'm pretty sure in March that like some of his salary for the year did become guaranteed at a certain point if he was still on the roster. So I don't necessarily know that it really makes sense either way to move off from Rankins at this point. And Ogunjobi's a very similar player, really a better pass rusher than run defender. And I think I'd almost rather just stick with the continuity and, a hopeful bounce back year with Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm looking at the money. Like you said, some websites will say, there's an easy out in his contract. If they were to release him, they'd save 5.4 mil in cap space. He only counts 750, but like you said, there might be some structural thing. It could be a prorated bonus, which, they spread out over the course of the contract that he was guaranteed. Maybe it was just incentive that he hit or, just being on the team for a certain amount of time. Who knows? But when you're looking at it, they could save a little bit of cash and roll that over to a guy like Larry Ogunjobi. But at the end of the day, like you said, leadership, he has consistency. He's been on the Jets for a couple of years now. So like he knows what they expect of him, has experience with some of these guys around him. So I definitely see your perspective in that one. So I think overall we can kind of agree that Larry Ogunjobi doesn't seem like a great fit for the team. That's probably why he hasn't signed the contract yet. But I will say I wouldn't be surprised if they took that out, especially if he was going to be cheap. But he is still a good player. Like he is a good pass rusher. He has shown flashes of being a good run defender in the past. It could just be poor coaching that kind of hurt his stock a little bit. But if the coaches feel like he can be a good player, he can hold down the run in the run game and they can, help him in that area, then I don't see why they wouldn't pull the trigger, just really depending on the price. He may want like a multi-year deal. If it was a 1-year prove it deal, like it was for Cincinnati last year, he didn't really, as a pass rusher, I think he's probably going to teams and saying, hey, I had 7 sacks last year. Like I produced a lot in the pass rush game. And I think that I'm worth a multi-year deal. So he could be kind of waiting out for that, especially after injuries and training camp preseason. He could just be waiting for an opportunity. That probably seems like the most likely scenario. But I would love to hear your opinions below in the YouTube comments about Larry Ogunjobi. If you think he would be a good fit for this Jets team, I think Ryan and I kind of come to the conclusion that he probably wouldn't be based on just all the factors we listed before. But always happy to hear your conversations and respond to you and build this community up, my friends. Much love as always. We'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Jets episode. And make sure to like and subscribe.